Hello, friends. Good afternoon. Welcome to Look and Live. You are here with Pastor James Devallon, and I'm joined with my friend here.
Good afternoon.
All right, Darth Vader. We are in for another one this time. Once again, I just want to thank you guys for joining. Check out the links below. We have a number of things happening there as well. Um, check out our merch. See if you could find something there. Yeah, you can put on. I'm working on a number of merches as well. I'm working on a few more things. So let me know what you find out. We have a good one for you. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Mr. Darth Vader. Let me turn my screen over to you now. We're gonna tell you what's happening here on the screen. Give us a background of our discussion today. Would you go ahead?
So this gentleman is no echo.
Go ahead.
So this gentleman is known as D. Snider. He was the lead singer of a band called Twisted Sister back in the early to mid '80s, and all throughout the '80s and into the '90s. More into the '90s, they kind of went away from it, started doing other things,
Mm-hmm.
and but really back in the '80s is when they were really big, and the big hair with like lots of hairspray. He went over the top with the makeup and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his records that they put out was called Under the Knife.
Okay.
And this stirred up a lot of controversy amongst a lot of people.
Okay.
And this brought out a desire for them to try to censor him because it wasn't exactly, they thought it meant something, but what it actually was something different.
Mm.
And so, but anyway, getting back to D, he actually, I think, not 100% certain, but I believe he has 2 college degrees. He has at least one honorary doctorate,
Mm.
and he's an ordained minister.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah.
He actually put that out on his Twitter
Yeah. So, what is the intent of using D. Snyder's s- discussion, or why are we having this discussion today in the light of that?
because what he did was in, I think it was, I can't remember if it was 84 or 85. He went before Congress and testified in a congressional hearing, and they were bringing him in front of them to try to discredit him and get this law passed to censor musicians.
Mm. Mm. So it goes back to the censorship situation that we are now experiencing.
Yes.
So it's
It,
nothing new.
this is not anything new that they've been trying to do. They've been trying to censor people for decades. And I've been screaming this from the rooftops. Like, this is nothing new under the sun. This is going back all the way back to, like, this is why we now have parental advisory warnings on albums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Is
I knew there had to be
because
there had to be a
of
history.
Yeah, it's because of the hearings that D. Snider spoke at.
Mm. These are things people don't even know about. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Great to
in
know.
in a nutshell, that is who D. Snider is. And
Hmm.
like I said, this is just a stage costume. Yes, that's actually his real hair. we
Yeah,
Back in the '80s, we used a lot of hairspray. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
hairspray companies were booming back then.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hey, Cajun and Jamina, and also Megan. How you
Hey,
guys doing?
Cajun. Nice to see you, Megan.
Yeah,
Nice to
yeah.
see you again.
Noise opposition. Look at I love that. God bless. Good to have you here. Watching from Alabama. Shout out.
Hey, Tamara. Welcome from
Tomorrow.
Alabama.
Welcome. Yeah, so we're gonna have a really interesting discussion today because as we see in our world today, there's a lot of pushback against certain speech, certain things you can't say. There are certain words you're not even supposed to mention today on certain platforms, of course, as the one
Like
we are using right now.
GROOMER.
Yeah, be careful. So with all of these things, I wanted to like, hey, is this a new thing? It's nothing new. This has been going on in history as well. And I saw how in the hip hop world when NWA and Ice T, when they put out their songs, I think it's called "F the Police" or something like that.
Hmm.
But they were trying to censor them as well during those times.
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
with the song "Cop Killer."
yeah, yeah. So, and it's interesting to me that he became somewhat of a figure for the police
Hmm.
today and a lot of these TV shows. And I'm like, oh, the guy who wanted to kill cops back then is now.
Now he plays one on TV. That's kind of like the running meme.
I love how Hollywood gets things done. Yeah. So we have that to discuss and to share with you guys today, and certainly we have Dave Rubin. He has a report on um, yeah, what happened with what's her name? OAC supporters screamed at her and called her out on her sins of supporting the war and everything that's happening there. I will not be saying any more to that. We're also gonna watch a ridiculous NT gun ad. Some are wondering what was the purpose of this, and Jordan Peterson had something to say to these I would say those medical doctors who make it their business to transition children under the age of 18. He has something to say. I'll tell you that much. And last but not least, we're gonna come back to D. Snider's 30 minutes video as well. So how about we begin with this one here? Let me mute myself, and we're gonna switch over to the screen and allow Dave Rupin to get us going here. All right.
If you really want to see how the jig is up, this was the first video that I saw this morning. This is so incredible that you just got to get comfortable in your seat. Everybody just kind of like chill out for a moment. This is so absolutely wonderful. This is video from yesterday. AOC did a town hall in the Bronx in her home district. And you'll see basically nobody showed up. And the few people that did were not having it with her nonsense.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks, okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that? Yes or no?
Today,
Hey, Darth Vader, we got to talk. What does this tell you when AOC is being confronted by her own constituents on these political things? I mean, what does this show?
Well, it's a number of things. I mean, one, people are fed up with the crap that
Yeah.
she's been spewing out
Mhm.
because, I mean, she is full of it. And number two, they don't quite have all the facts right.
Mm. Are you
Um,
talking about the people or her in particular?
the people.
Okay.
Um, the whole Nazi thing in Ukraine
Mm-hmm.
is Russian propaganda.
Okay.
Like, there's another YouTube channel called Speak the Truth.
Yeah. You shared that
I
with me.
shared that with you, and I wanted to share it with everyone here in chat. that if you go and watch that channel,
Mm-hmm.
he's been following the war in a military sense and trying to break it down in as a non-biased partisan way as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one it was because it was so long ago, that they showed a bombed out building where there was a table set up,
Mm-hmm.
and they took a picture, but there was fresh spray paint on the wall with a certain flag on it from the people from World War II.
Mm.
And the symbol was the spray paint, if you know
Interesting.
what I mean. But it was all completely fresh. Like it was just done just before the picture. You could still see the paint running down the wall from the spray paint.
Yeah.
So
That's good insight. So they're not operating on a lot of facts. Well, they're not
yeah.
operating on, all facts, of course. But would you disagree with them confronting her in the
Oh
way
no,
that they did?
absolutely not.
Absolutely.
I agree. They should confront her. I just
Yeah.
think that they should confront her on things that she's actually done,
Mm-hmm.
like fake being arrested at an anti-abortion rally,
Yeah, there was
or
no handcuffs or anything.
claiming that she was traumatized at, the Capitol riot when she was 3 blocks away. It just doesn't make sense.
I've heard somebody said nobody really cares about what AOC has to say. It's just because they think she's pretty. If she wasn't pretty, nobody would pay attention to anything she has to say.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it boils down to is
Yeah.
if she wasn't good looking, according to some, I don't know what they see in her. Personally, I think
Yeah.
she has the face of a donkey, but I mean, that's probably why she's a Democrat. So,
No, you did. No, you did. The girls on The View is gonna come get you. You talking like that.
Hey, you know what?
That's another
I
thing.
could probably outrun all of them. So, and I'm in broke bad shape. So, you know what? That tells you a lot right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Talking about military experience right here.
but I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't see where she's done anything for anybody that she's supposed to be serving. And that's the thing is people get into Congress
Mm-hmm.
and they seem to forget that the founding fathers set up the government as they are supposed to be servants of the people.
The people, but they begin to appease the rich, the elites, the elitists, right? And they forget about the basic, the grassroots.
Think the people are under them.
Yeah,
We the people are their underlings.
yeah.
No, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights say we the people tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
That the Constitution is more of a guideline of telling the government that this is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do.
There we go. Megan challenged you here. She said, "Not so, Darth Vader. Not you. Ukraine people in school is taught Nazism." Okay.
Before the war, I can't speak to that. I don't.
Yeah.
Just know what's been going on since then, and there hasn't been any schools because they've all been blown up.
Got it. So let's listen to Dave Rubin final analysis of this video, and then we move on to the next point here.
Today is a great day. I mean, that is so beautiful. Now, first, let me address a couple things. I don't know, maybe 30 people in there, right? So nobody in her own district is listening to her anymore. The squad, and I've been trying to explain this from the beginning, the squad was a corporate idea and a big tech idea. The average person doesn't want their kid's genitals chopped off. The average kid doesn't want their the average adult doesn't want their kid dying in Ukraine, and all of the other equity-based nonsense and all of the drivel and the hatred of America and all that stuff that AOC and Omar and Tlaib have put out there. So they don't really have support. Yes, she has won 2 elections. I give her credit for that in a very small district. she won these 2 elections. So it's not like there's literally nobody, but it certainly is not as big as the machine would have you believe. Put her on every cover of everything and constantly put her on the Sunday news shows and everything else. The young people that are yelling at her there are quite right. I thought weren't the progressives supposed to be nice and anti-war? Why would we be giving all this money and weapons, and again, we haven't declared war, to the Ukrainians when we're not exactly sure who they are, and there are some Nazi elements there, and it's all very strange. And suddenly, the more that this keeps going on, the more that we're suddenly talking about nuclear war and World War III. I thought the progressives were supposed to be out there screaming against war, but that's not really what they're about when they're in power, is it? What's really beautiful about that is AOC's response to that guy basically was, "You're being rude, so I don't have to respond to you." This is the same AOC who repeatedly has done what Maxine Waters has done and many other progressives, which is you get up in their face and you show up at their events and you don't give them any quarter and all of those things. So AOC, you have opened up a Pandora's box, baby, and it's on you now, so good luck. The inmates are running the asylum, and they're going to have you for lunch.
Yeah, how about that?
It's not just a Pandora's box. That's a whole box of something she didn't want to sniff in the first place. Like, I mean,
Wow.
like it's just crazy because she's been trying to, like he said, it's just something, the squad and all of that is just something corporate America made up to get people on board with the Democratic Party.
Wow. That is crazy. Well, where we are. The truth is the truth. And I love what Ruben said. You know, she's been one of the loudest voices, especially when the anti-abortion law was passed, the Congress voted against it. She was among, like, among those saying, get in their face, disrespect them, let's go.
And,
Like,
and this is why I strongly believe we really need term limits for Congress.
true.
Like, there should be no lifelong politicians
Mm.
like Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters,
Mm-hmm.
even Mitch McConnell. They all got to go. We got to, it should be like the president. You serve 2, you're out.
Yeah, I agree. Because they stayed there, and it's very hard for them to any positive change to be done as long as they're in power. AOC is an actress that auditioned for the role.
No.
That's
And not a good one at that.
a very bad one. How about we move to the next part of our video right now? We have Liz Wheeler on the screen for you, and this TV ad, I thought that one was the word the kids use today, cringe.
Cringe.
So this is an anti-gun ad. I'm gonna let her talk, and we just comment when she's finished.
Hi, we're Nathan's parents. Thanks. So we just wanted to ask, and it's totally cool. There's no issue. The tiger.
And we were just wondering if he'll be locked up.
Yeah, will the tiger be locked up for the whole time?
Absolutely. We never let him out with kids around, not even our own.
It doesn't kill to ask about unlocked guns in the house. Guns are now the leading cause of death for kids.
Darth Vader, did you hear that?
I want to know where they're getting their statistics from.
Yeah.
Show me numbers.
Don't
just tell me that. Show me numbers, because I guarantee you that's not the leading cause for deaths for kids.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are some kids who have, died using guns.
I'm not saying that there isn't.
Yeah.
By far, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
Some have had some terrible and tragic outcomes because of guns.
What does that necessarily mean? All gun owners
are evil.
Or are they evil? Does that mean? It's just the comparison of guns to a vicious animal. To me, is like Gun is
One you can control, one you
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
One's an inanimate object, one
Yeah, one is
isn't.
not. Yeah, it's just weird to me.
It's
Which
like,
yeah, it's
where
interesting.
do these people come up with this?
I
It
have no
doesn't make
idea.
any sense whatsoever.
Zero.
Like, I mean, I got a cane and a hammer sitting right here, right next to me. I could do just as much damage with that as anything else in this house.
That's crazy.
Like,
Good
they
point.
tried to ban guns in the UK, and look what happened. Stabbings went up.
Yeah. People will find another means
If
to
people
carry
want
out
to
their
hurt
crimes.
people, they will find a way.
They will find a way. True. But some will argue by saying, well, you can do a lot more damage with a gun than you will do with a knife.
That's not true, because within 10 feet of somebody,
Mhm.
it's actually a lot harder to defend against a knife than it is against a gun that's holstered.
So I'm guessing from a sense of, if you have a crowd of people and you have a gun, then from that perspective, at least a machine gun, which is not even legal to
Well,
even get in this country, it's one thing you have an AR, which is not automatic weapon, but it's different.
and
So
that's the thing, is most people think AR stands for automatic rifle. It doesn't. It stands
no,
for Armalite Rifle Company.
armor light your rifle. Yeah, that's different. I had to explain this to my wife. It's just you shoot and it reloads on by itself, but you still have to pull the trigger again.
Yeah,
It's
one
not.
pull, one bullet.
Yeah. So let's listen to Liz' final analysis on this. I love how she puts it together. She kind of says the same thing we're saying in a way.
Guess which sound around.
Well, health. Okay, so this crazy advertisement, this was played on a local New York station, and it was sponsored by Northwell Health. They are doing an anti-gun initiative here. This was a commercial that was run on the show Monarch. I don't know if you guys have seen that. And I don't know. I mean, I think this is hilarious. It's a stupid ad. Like, what do they expect? Do you have to go and feed your gun 50 pounds of meat every day? What are you going to do if the government's acting tyrannically? You're just going to trot out your herd of tigers to defend yourselves against the government? I imagine being so stupid that you would compare a living wild animal to a firearm. Not exactly the same thing. Not even close to the same thing. The comparison is so asinine, because here's the thing. A tiger operates itself. A tiger is a living creature. A tiger will attack you if you get in its way. A tiger will attack you if you are in the same room as it. A tiger will attack you for no reason at all. A firearm doesn't do that. A firearm sits in its safe. It's an inanimate object. It's not alive. It does nothing unless a person operates it. So to compare a firearm to a tiger it's not only stupid, it not only shows that these people are stupid. Another example, by the way, of the crisis in our healthcare system, a healthcare organization is advertising this. It also shows that the left thinks that you are stupid, that you would fall for this. They despise our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms is critical to our defense of freedom. It is critical for the government to know that the people hold the power. The government does not.
She puts it well too.
And she nailed it right on the head too. It's absolutely critical that we protect the Second Amendment with everything we have.
That's right.
Because without that, we don't have any other amendment.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We lose all our rights if we lose the Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
And that's the only thing really that's stopping them. That's why they're pushing so hard for gun control. And what they don't realize is the beauty of the Second Amendment is our founding fathers put in there, shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
And the thing that kills me about this is going back a ways, Joe Biden made an idiotic statement that civilians couldn't and never owned cannons. I'm sorry,
What was that? I have no idea.
During the Revolutionary War, they were handing out cannons to civilian ships like they were candy. Like they were using merchant civilian fleets
Yeah.
as warships.
Well, we can't take everything that Biden says for real. Sometimes he's not.
So,
he's not
I
thinking
mean,
rationally.
and technically, everything that they were using back then was military grade. So, I mean,
they had it there in one way or another. Yeah.
So technically, according to the Second Amendment, nothing for us should be off limits.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we like to believe that our government can never get out of hand. I want to live. I try to live by faith, being a Christian, and we're supposed to. I don't live by faith in my government because history has taught us a number of things. Sometimes they lose their minds. I was talking to my son earlier today, and he had an assignment to do about Constitution, and they were asking him which Constitution in the Bill of Rights with which law in the Bill of Rights which amendment you would like to keep, and things like that. If you had to keep one, he said freedom of speech. And I say, why freedom of speech? He says the government, if we don't have the right to speak, our government can literally go crazy, and we can stop them. And when they do go crazy, the Second Amendment comes into play. Isn't that what? Who said this? Was it Dave Chappelle who said?
Okay, so the First Amendment is to ensure that we have the right to speak out our grievances. The Second Amendment is to protect the First.
Yeah, so there we go. I'm gonna see if I can find a quotation here from Dave Chappelle, and you pretty much summarized it for me. I know Dave said something like that. Yeah, there he is. So you said it. Yeah, he says the First Amendment is first for a reason. The Second Amendment is just in case the first one doesn't work out. And there we go. Because when your freedom of speech is under attack and your Second Amendment is under attack, anything go. A tyrannical government, and we oftentimes want to believe this can never happen here.
And
like
you
JP
look
said,
at history.
It cannot happen here, can it?
You just look at history. I mean, every time the government has wanted to, rule over its people with an iron fist, the first thing they do is get rid of the guns. They've always disarmed the populace. Every single time.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without
Absolutely.
fail.
Absolutely. Megan, you said exactly 100%. What are we going to ban? What are we going to ban? Cooking knives, baseball bats, etc. They can be used as weapons as well. Absolutely. And yeah.
And
like
the militia in the Second Amendment, it doesn't mean the military. It's everyday people that need to be, in case they need to be called up and ready to defend their state or their country.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
so their entire argument for gun control is absolutely ridiculous. And most of these people haven't gone through the process of trying to purchase a gun in the first place, so they don't even know what they're talking about. And of course, this ad had to come out of New York.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess.
I mean, of all places, really. I mean, come on, guys.
Doesn't shock me at all. Doesn't shock me at all. The Supreme Court actually, trying to make it possible for New Yorkers to get their guns, and New York managed to work their way around that. They passed so many laws.
In the head over and over again.
Yeah. They make sure they pass so many laws where you cannot carry, to the point where it's like it nullifies what the Supreme Court has.
Yeah, the entire state's a safe zone now.
Yeah, everything is a safe zone. It's like, okay, where can I carry it? Carry it inside of your house, in your basement or something. Like, okay. So it's like, of course, it will come from New York. No wonder why their crime rate is out of control. People don't have the right, to defend themselves. And, this what's been going on in the train. People are just getting stomped and punched out of nowhere. It's happening randomly, Criminals.
Now imagine if those two women
become bold in their sins.
Now imagine if those two women were carrying. You think that would have happened if those two women were carrying?
That's a good point. Yeah, when they were being stomped by the so-called Green Goblins gang.
You realize that every year in the U.S. there's a right around 3 million defensive use of firearms every single year that nobody talks about.
Why? Well, why should we? Let's highlight the crimes. Let's highlight how many or the homicide rates, not those who are using their guns properly.
Compared to the 2,500 to 3,000 deaths per year that they're talking about and highlighting due to actual gun violence. And I'm not talking about the self-deletion.
Yeah.
Wow. You take self-deletion out of it and their numbers drop dramatically.
Megan, you said the militia in 2A is not meaning the military. Yeah, that's right. The militia represent the people.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that. That's great. Yeah, we the people all day. Hey, what's up, Vasquez?
Hey, Vegas.
Oh, Vegas villain. All right. Yeah, good point. So much more could be said, and I will advocate all day for the Second Amendment. I would rather be safe than to take my chances, hoping that my government will look out for me enough in time. Yeah. It doesn't always work out that way, Yeah,
I don't trust the government. The only person I trust to look out for me is God and myself.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw a video of what was this guy? He was actually inside of a church, and there was a shooter, and he shot him, and oh my goodness, I'm gonna find it for you. Yeah, he defended the entire church.
There you go. Down in Texas.
Down in Texas, yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, Steven Crowder actually interviewed him.
Yeah, there we go. How about we play that? Because I think what we're talking about the Second Amendment means whatever New York is looking for a way to get rid of it by any means necessary. At least trying to indoctrinate people there's something evil about first people owning a gun. Let's find out how guns are being used in a positive. Let's talk about that because I think at least this is the side of the story that you don't hear that the media highlights very much. So let's take a listen to that.
We begin with those disturbing attacks on religious services. First, the breaking news from Texas, a gunman opening fire inside a church near Fort Worth. The West Freeway Church of Christ live streaming the service as the man seen there at the top stood up from his seat, pulled out a long gun and fired several times. Other church members right there shooting back. One victim was killed, another in critical condition. The gunman did not survive. And tonight, the hunt for a motive to a violent attack where worshipers should feel most safe. ABC's Marcus Moore leads us off.
Tonight, these shocking images out of Texas. Gunfire interrupting a quiet church service. The violence unfolding just minutes before 10 a.m., just as parishioners started receiving communion at the West Freeway Church of Christ near Fort Worth. The church live streaming the service. You can see the shooter sitting in the back of the room wearing a large coat. Watch as he pulls out a gun and aims it at a man nearby. Another man appears to reach for his weapon, but the gunman fires first, shooting him and a second man.
We're going to need help with patient care.
The gunshots sparking panic in the pews. Worshippers seen ducking for cover. One man covering his wife with his own body.
It was a sad thing that he had to come into the congregation and hurt people, and it's a sad thing that we had to hurt him.
In just seconds, several parishioners opened fire, hitting the gunman, who managed to fire one last shot before falling to the ground, dying at the scene. People rushing over and pointing their weapons at the suspect on the ground.
There are 2 people that were shot, and they died at a local hospital.
Several others hurt, one critically. The gunman also shot dead.
Today, evil walked boldly among us. And let me remind you, good people raised up and stopped it before it got worse.
Outside, officers swarming the scene, shutting down streets. Parishioners visibly shaken, hugging each other for comfort.
All right, Marcus Moore joining us now. And Marcus, this shooting only lasted a few seconds before a security guard and several armed citizens quickly intervened.
That's right. In fact, one man who said he had a relative inside the church at the time, he said he is thankful for so many good guys with guns. In the meantime, the investigation into a possible motive is just getting underway.
All right, Marcus Moore, our thanks to you tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here.
Yeah. There we go.
Well,
Let's talk
you
about that.
you want motive? I'll give you motive. Look at all the crap you see on TV and on the news these days. There's your
Yeah.
motive.
There goes your motives.
You,
There goes
you
your motives.
guys are pushing this stuff and cramming all this stuff down people's throats. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think it does to the human psyche?
Mm, mm.
I
We
mean,
are so naive. So many of us are so naive, and we don't think that evil. We don't really believe that evil walks amongst us, like, and is out to destroy. People really think.
especially for those who are weak-minded.
Yeah, and I think some of it is just pure ignorance and willful, more like willful ignorance. I would say it's like they will ignore the facts. Like really, like this is not heaven, buddy. Like
No.
I'll pray and I'll shoot and pray because you're not gonna hurt
Yeah,
me
he'd
and
pick
my
a wrong
family.
state to pull that in, though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
try to do that in Texas, you
Go to
got
New
what you.
York. Go to New York with
Oh, please don't.
that. Don't come to. I know. I mean, not. But I know in New York, what I do is, and I say that is because, especially the way that New York is carried out, and I'm not wishing that on any New Yorkers. But the thing is, just there are some states. Texas was the last place you want to go and do something like that.
Yeah, because like I bet you like a good 3/4 of the people there were packing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Texas was a bad choice to pull that off in.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and it's like people don't understand. The only
Mm,
thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good
yeah,
guy with a gun. We've seen
that's
it
it.
time and time and time and time again, and
Mm,
yet people still don't grasp the concept, whether it's a
mm,
cop or a civilian.
mm, mm,
No matter
mm.
who it is, one or the other is when somebody gets it in their head that they're going to do something like this,
Yeah, yeah.
they're dead set on doing it and they're going through with it and they're
Mm,
not going to stop until they take out as many people as they can before somebody takes them out. Period.
mm, mm.
It's essentially the same as a suicide bomber.
I was talking to my son earlier, and one of the things that we were talking about was when you're looking at the law of God, it's just like you're not talking about just the action of the law. There's the spirit of the law. You pretty much highlight the fact that you know before a shooter, the shooter makes up his mind to kill way ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
We can't control the mind, so therefore we have to be ready because we can't read the mind. God only knows that. So that's why when you look at the Bible, God also deals with sin that are in the mind. It's called the spirit of the law. When you look at a woman and lust after her in your heart, therefore is considered adultery. You hate your brother in your heart, it is considered murder. So
Mm-hmm.
God takes this stuff to the next level. So we are not God. Here we are in living in this sinful world. So when people choose to do evil, we have to be able to confront it in his face for what it is. So if we are unready, don't get me wrong, pray it up, make sure the spirit of God is over you. But at the same time, let's not be naive just because we're Christian, thinking because I believe in Jesus, that's all that it takes. Listen, friends, Christian get shot down too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they mass shooters don't ask about your spiritual condition before they take action.
They don't
So
discriminate.
they don't discriminate. So the thing is, it's just common sense to me. Even in the Bible, you notice that the Israelites were not cowards. Like you don't see God's people being cowards. They went to war. They were warriors and soldiers. Primarily God was the one fighting their battle. But every now and then they had to lift up the sword against their enemy. So I think as Christians, we are not called to be soft and just lovey-dovey and so on. There is a place where prayer needs to take place. But just like these people did inside of that sanctuary, that's there. You come to our church to kill, to steal, and to destroy. Oh no, you gotta go. You
Yeah,
gotta
I mean,
go because we gotta save our members. We
you
can't
gotta
allow
you
this to
gotta
happen.
carry two swords.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
carry the sword of God in
yeah,
one hand and the sword of
yeah,
Smith and Wesson in the other.
yeah. Somebody will say one to kill and one to heal.
Exactly.
So if I can help you with the Bible, with the sword of the spirit, well, I'm gonna have to use a regular sword to take you out. Because,
Exactly.
unfortunately, we live in this world, and it's sad. You kind of have to do that, because evil walks among us, and we don't like to admit this, but it is true. You know, some people are evildoers. They're gonna come with the mindset to do you wrong. And if you can protect, you wanna what?
I want to switch the tablet of Josiah.
No, you can't. He's using it. Okay, you
Hi,
got your own.
BJ.
Say hi. They can't see you. Oh my goodness.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, BJ.
I don't think you can hear. I think you can hear him now. Go ahead.
Hi, BJ.
Hi.
He came down here to ask me about my tablet, and he has his own. This guy's funny. Anyway,
but yeah, I mean, and really, what this boils down to is the destruction of the nuclear family.
Oh,
I bet you most of these people you see doing these mass shootings come from broken homes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say maybe not all of them, but most of them, a good majority of them, come from broken homes.
1 second, Turner, could you send me that song again, please? Sometimes they get lost, especially when I was banned for 2 weeks, so I lost a lot of my playlist, and I couldn't actually. When you ban, you can even save your playlist. I'm not sure if you guys know that. When you ban on YouTube, even your playlist, you can even do anything with them. It's crazy how that
still
works.
be on Discord though.
Yeah, on Discord you can. Yeah, on Discord, if you send it on Discord, this is your best place, for me to have it. But if you, I think you send it in my email. So please send it to me again, especially on my Discord, and then I'll save it and react to it. Yep, I'll tell BJ you say hi tomorrow. So, guys, let's talk about this school board here. I'm not gonna dive into every part of this video. This video is coming from Black Conservative. There he is. This is a Black Conservative perspective. So listen to this, guys, because what's going on now is these this woke stuff has gone crazy. All right, it has gone so crazy that even Muslim and Christians are beginning to come together, putting aside their theological differences and say, enough. So what's going on there in that school, doing the school board here? This was a school board that was happening just a couple of days ago. They had to call it off because it just went crazy. Now this is a bigger auditorium where the people come back to talk about these LGBT books that are among the curriculum for their kids, and the Muslim family and the Christians are coming together saying, enough of this nonsense. We don't want it. We just want our children to learn the things that they're supposed to be learning. So it's good to hear where this is going. We're gonna dive in a little bit and watch a few of their commentaries and so on, and we share some thought and perspective as well. All
yeah,
right.
they banned Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, about that. He was a racist or something, they say, supposedly. Anybody and everybody's a racist now. Anyway, where you at, BJ? You sneaking behind me? You can join me. You don't have to hide.
Daddy, what?
The answer is no.
Have you found my blue sweater?
All right.
Have you found my blue sweater down here?
Not yet. Go upstairs, please. All right, let's go. Let me mute myself.
The fundamental existence of school is not to learn about sexual pleasure, not to learn about new sex acts. The fundamental purpose of school is to prepare our kids to be successful adults who can go off and have careers. And it is up to every parent to then teach their kids morality. It is out of the place for the school to do it, and I reject any notion that parents here are filled with hate or bigotry. The parents don't want their kids sexualized. If other people want to sexualize their kids, that's their business.
Now, I don't know what you guys are trying to do. I don't know, why didn't you take these books out and say, that's it, we're done with these books, but you guys want to sit here and just keep the books, instead of you guys.
What you're hearing right now are Muslim families that are talking now, and they're sharing their perspective, and they're speaking against the books, and we're also going to hear the side of those that are speaking for it. So brace yourself. It gets really interesting.
Taking the 6 books out, we wouldn't even be here. What's the problem? What's the agenda? What are you getting out of it? It's getting ridiculous. People got kids out here, okay? I'm not against the gay. I'm not against anything. I'm against the books, Okay? Don't sit here and say that people are sitting here coming to you guys and just telling you, oh, we want these books out. You worried about the gay people? No problem. We're not worried about the gay people. We're worried about our children. Okay? And second of all, I don't want to hear anybody, okay, sitting there saying, oh, you guys are offending the gay. These are kids. They can be 18. If they want to become gay, let them become gay. Who cares? It's not our problem. We don't want kids to have access to these books. It's nice and simple. I'm not going to address the situation no more. It is. It is what it is. And the only person that's behind this is Rashida Tlaib. Do not vote for Rashida Tlaib. It's nice and simple.
Clear that at the core of this issue is an ideological battle. And it seems like, and I hope I'm mistaken in my assessment, that some members of this board have inclined towards an insane, liberal LGBT ideology that holds many fanatical views, but none so deranged as the idea that is good and students should have access to material in school as part of education. And the reality is, the proponents of LGBT liberal ideology here and elsewhere are fine with democracy as long as people vote for their fanatical views, and as long as it supports their wicked agendas. If people vote against their views, the liberal authority blocks the democratic process and imposes the LGBT liberal positions on the populace. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Board of Education, if democracy matters, we are the majority here in Dearborn. Let us draw the boundaries on appropriateness.
Boy. Somebody had to say something. So you heard the side of the Muslim and the Christians speaking against it. We're gonna hear the side of the liberals that are for those books. But I want to hear your thought and perspective before we dive into that. What's your perspective? Do you think it's okay for children to have access to these homosexual materials at such a young age?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If I found anything like that in my granddaughter's school when she starts school, if her parents didn't throw a fit, I would go there and rip the school board apart myself.
Nice. There we go. How about you that are in the chat room? Share your thought and perspective with me. Do you think it's okay for children to have access to literature that exposes them to, I guess, their sexual orientation or level of form of indoctrination that are for the LGBT community? What do you guys think?
I mean,
reading your comments below.
It's bad enough they get indoctrinated with social media and everything like that. They constantly get bombarded by it and everything through that. They don't need even more of it through the school.
Yeah.
They're there to learn to read, write, and arithmetic. That's what the schools are for.
Hey, Megan answered, no. Tamara answered the question, no porn in school. The answer is very loud, no. And also, Vega said, is that a serious question? So, I guess that's a no.
So I think we have a consensus.
Yeah, we do. As for me, I just don't even I don't even understand why we having the discussion. I'm just at a point where I'm like, what are we talking about again?
Because
are we even considering this?
Schools are no longer schools. They're indoctrination camps.
You're right. It has gotten so bad now that parents have to tell school boards this is not okay. Like, it was never okay. I mean, even with my younger sons, I just started talking about sexual stuff with my 11-year-old. He had to turn 11 years old before we had this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now he is thinking in that mindset. His, girlfriend is in his mind and stuff like that. So we had to have that talk, and I had to open up the books and talk about these different body parts and their function and warn him about STDs and so on, and things like that. And warn him about masturbation. We had those talks, and I said, listen, you gotta have control over this passion below and things like that. So I found that it took me over 10 to 11 something years before I felt comfortable to speak to my own son about this. And I do not understand how a school board think it's okay to take a child at this stage of their lives and allow them to be indoctrinated, not in heterosexual relationship primarily. That is being ostracized today. We don't even highlight that anymore. It's homosexuality. And some of these books are not saying, they're not saying basic stuff. They're when I read what is in these books,
Oh
it's
no,
like
they're
they
hardcore.
yeah, they're hardcore sexual pornography, how to carry out LGBT dirty deeds. This
Yeah.
stuff, that's what we're talking about. We talking about the birds and it's not even say birds and bees because that's not even gonna fit here.
It's like the
But
birds and the bears.
the birds and bears. We're talking about cucumbers and
The
I guess
birds don't
eggplant.
fare too well in the end.
It's at a point where if we even have to have this discussion with our school boards, it shows that they have totally failed us. And I think what has happened too over the years, since 1942, when we kicked God out of school, somewhere around there, when we say that, having God, even having the 10 commandments in school, having Bible as part of the curriculum was wrong, was not constitutional for children. And I think that that slippery slope has continued. We took God out of school, we took prayer out of school. Instead of making it an option for kids, we just get rid of it altogether.
And
Because
yet, before every test, I guarantee you, there's kids going there. Oh God, please let me pass this test, please.
yeah, they pray. you better study before you pray. But the thing is,
I know I was praying. I was praying real hard. I passed that test.
Absolutely. But it's just weird to me. Like, we can't have religion in school of any sort. And I understand there are a degree of religion that should be kept out of school because of different, perspective on religion. I get it. But to get rid of it altogether, that I get it. That's extreme. But you go and you invite an LGBT doctrines in the school, and you give that to the kids, and no parents is allowed to go against that. So okay,
You know, there used to be a time in U.S. history.
Go ahead.
Okay. There used to be a time in U.S. history when they actually used the Bible to teach kids how to read.
Yeah. The Bible used to be the essential book for all education at one point. But we also have to go back that public school, which I like. I'm not sure if you saw the movie Uncle Tom 2.
I haven't.
Yeah, I can share a link with you. Anyway, there was a good commentary made. The public school was created to get rid of Christianity from the hearts of our children. That was the goal, because government really didn't had no business
And
getting
I
into
think
the education of our children. This was something that families and parents used to do, homeschooling our children. That's how it used to be. But when the government get involved in it, everything that government touches just gets crazy bad. But
it turns to rot.
Well, here we are today having a discussion about gay books and stuff. It just shows you.
But
the
thing
slippery slope.
is they start them young because their minds are so malleable at that age, and they absorb that information so easily that it sticks with them.
Absolutely, and they know that. I'm teaching my son both. He knows English, and I'm teaching him Creole. I'm teaching him some French. It's amazing. He is 5 years old, and he understands all 3 languages already.
Nice.
He's able to like, he doesn't speak fluently, but if I speak to him, he gets it. And I'm like, that is amazing. My 11-year-old didn't get that. He's like,
my granddaughter uses sign language.
That is amazing, right? And
she's not even 5 yet.
That is beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about the impressionable mind of children. They are so easily, like you say, moldable, and they can be indoctrinated so easily. And I think the LGBT community knows this very well. And this has been going on for a long time, guys. I think we're just now seeing videos push back against it,
And that's why you had that. That's why you had the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir come out and singing, "We're coming for your children."
They've done come, and they're not lying.
No, they told us they were doing it.
Yeah,
now
and Disney said they're gonna put homosexual and queer things all over their movies. Have you been seeing it?
Look at Buzz Lightyear.
They're not lying. Yeah, Buzz Lightyear. Yeah, no wonder why they didn't meet their expected goal as far as.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. And that shows you the world. In all actuality, we're not for this thing.
It's disgusting.
It is.
It's just absolutely mind-bogglingly disgusting.
Yeah, it surely is. All right, let's get back there.
Guys, so you've seen that, you heard that, okay? You've heard the side of the parents who are concerned about these sexual books being pushed on their children in schools, right? And the things they have to go through, being that they are Muslim, right? Just like Christians have to go through the same thing. And when they speak out about this stuff, they get called all types of names, right? Including white Christian nationalists, right? Or white supremacists. Again, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. So that being said, let's get into the parents, the woke parents, who basically got booed as they were supporting kids being exposed to this sexual content in the name of LGBTQ rights. Take a look.
That should be all you need to see this for what it is. It's one woman's crusade to stir up the ultra-conservative element around one trumped-up issue. Come on, these kids weren't reading these books. And use it in a manipulative effort to replace a balanced school board with one tailored to their narrow set of views. Then all the way to the top until there are no voices left in this country but theirs. I don't know that she expected such support from the Muslim community, but here they are, apparently fervent in their fear of all LGBTQ, because like I said, it's their turn to embrace the American way. So the school board has done its duty. You've listened to the community's concerns, done your investigation, presented a reasonable program that allows each parent to make these decisions for their kids. And I, for one, won't give up my rights as a father to anyone whose parenting skills are so fragile their teenagers can be undone by ink on a page. It's time for you to draw your line and stand by it. Much of the community will stand with you despite all of this. If you cave and remove these books, they may believe they've won, but it doesn't make them right. History will judge them on that, and it will judge you. This nation does not look back fondly on such efforts to subdue its freedom.
Darth Vader.
Oh boy,
that guy! That guy is crazy, right?
Oh boy,
he's
wrong.
He's got the word
so backwards.
He's got the word salad for himself. He's got the spec and the syntax.
He's got the mind soup.
Yeah. But it was. This is what I like to call political garbage. Does he know? Does he understand the mind and how it works?
And does he understand that they're not giving these books to teenagers? Like, hello, they're giving them to preschool and grade school kids, like K through 5.
Why are we talking about this? Huh? No, not now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Like, dude, do your research. Like, that's the thing. That's what kills me about most people who talk like this and think like this, is they don't do any research. They just go with their emotions and their gut feeling and just write some bumble speech that they think is accurate and correct, and don't do any research on any of the facts, and just, oh my goodness.
I love how, what was her name? George Judy. She said, if it doesn't make sense, it's a lie.
Right?
It was the most simplest statement. I'm like, yeah, brother, your rhetoric don't make sense. You are saying that these books might not have any effect on the kids. You're saying that nobody was reading these books. You're saying that it is the duty of the parents to help these children, and you thinking that these books will have no effect on their mind.
And then the parents are trying to help the kids, and you're fighting against that.
You're a nut. But again, when you buy into the woke, when you've graduated from wokeology college, you can come up with anything for anything, because even though you have nothing to say, you're talking about word salad. There you have it, baby.
I call it word salad and mind soup.
Let's move on to part 2 of this.
A lot of innocent young queer kids, they have made them terrified. And I come to you today as a mother, as a member of this community, as a wife, a mother, a queer mother, and as a woman who always has to fight for their right to exist, as a Black woman who always has to fight for their right to exist, as a queer person who has always had to fight for their right to exist. I am sick and tired of people telling me to go off and be whatever I am somewhere else. I am not going anywhere. I am sick of the only books that my son can read are about slavery and lynching, things that I find disgusting. Those are things that I hate. Those are things that I find unacceptable. But we are always reading about those things. We never get to read about love, kindness. If it bleeds, it leads. Anything that gets shot, time somebody gets in a car accident on Beach Daily or Gully, it's the first thing on the news. If a lesbian couple gets married down the street, you never hear about it. Quiet, it is my turn.
Please address the board. And please be respectful of the speaker.
Books are media. Quiet. Reclaiming my time. I want 5 seconds back.
Please continue. Please continue now.
I will not be shouted out by people who are of a faith other than mine.
Thank you for your comments.
This is
Oh boy.
of a faith other than hers. What faith? You have no faith.
You took it out of my mouth. I was thinking, what faith is she a part of? What faith is that? But again, you're talking about emotional frenzy because it's like she's saying a whole bunch of things and she is all raptured with emotion and passion. But when you listen, she really said nothing.
No, it was a bunch of hot air. That's all it was. She was just blowing smoke.
Blowing smoke. You could tell something's wrong with the engine under the hood.
Oh yeah, the check engine light was on for sure.
You know, this is ridiculous that we even have to listen to that. You know, but I have to admit though, she's gangster. She turned around and said, "I want my 5 seconds back." Give me my 5 seconds back. You know,
that was the only part of the whole speech that made any sense.
You know, again and again, we're not talking about LGBT rights here. And now they like to play this victim. And again, the same notion of being a black woman and have to survive. Please give me a break. You're in America and you have the right to stand in front of Muslim in America and voice your opinion so loudly. And they're not going to cut your head off. And you say you are supposedly, you have to survive. You say that you're under attack, you marginalized. Give me a break. Like, yeah, LGBT and blacks in this country are among the most powerful, respectable people in the world. Are you crazy?
She's making that her entire identity.
Yeah, is
like,
under attack.
Her entire identity is under attack. Like, what do you have? The identity, the depth of a teaspoon?
So you're saying a book in a school is where you find either your self-worth, your identity, your affirmation. Books in school, indoctrinating children is where you find that you're making progress in your life. That means you've been making
exactly
progress.
What she's saying.
So you'll be making progress backward then.
Yeah, that's exactly what she's saying.
This lady is out of her mind. But we have another genius here on the screen because he actually, you thought that lady was bad? Well, brace yourself for this one, guy.
Oh boy.
There we go. He gets better.
Thank you for your comments.
This is not a debate about books. It's a debate about culture. And let's just admit that. Because
be respectful
people
and allow someone
who want to ban books about gay people and come up and use words like pedophile to describe gay people, who use words like sexual perversion to describe gay people. You're not trying to ban a book. You're trying to ban gay people. That's what this is about. And it's obvious because the signs are there. Let's talk about what this really is. You hate gay people, and it's obvious because look at how you behave when one gay person speaks. Look at how you act, and your children are watching.
Mr. Stone, you need to
I'm being
address
shouted
the
down.
board. You need to address the board and not the audience.
Yes, well, I'd like to also say this. Characters in books deserve to be defended. Every kind of character. Gay characters, black characters, every diverse kind of character that can exist in a book belongs in our libraries. And you know what? They belong for one very simple reason. Because literature reflects reality.
Address the board, please.
Literature reflects reality. There's people who do all kinds of things in books. They're villains. They shoot people. They hurt people. They do dastardly things. And we don't try to ban them from every book. And if the most wretched villain belongs on the page of a book, then so too does a young gay child or a gay character who's just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Oh boy, brace myself. Go ahead, Mr. Darth Vader. You can go ahead and drop it like it's hot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are you stretching? Stretch.
So that guy's a whack job. Like, I mean, seriously, you can tell he's of that community.
Of course.
Obviously.
Two birds of a feather.
Taking it personally. It's like, it's not an attack on you as a person. It's not an attack on your character or anything like that. It's, we don't want this being taught to children. And yes, whether you like to admit it or not, 9 times out of 10, there are a bunch of pedophiles within your community. If you can't keep them straight, somebody has to.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I may not have, should have said that.
Hey. Word fitly spoken. How good is it? That's in Proverbs. But the thing is,
the most dangerous words that we've come up with in the last 2 decades is diversity and inclusion.
Equality. If you may add that one. Diversity, inclusion, and equality.
Yep.
Yeah. This is again, they want to make it look like they're under attack. And you see what they do? They do that deflecting thing. You know, they like to deflect from the point. It's
not even deflecting, it's projecting.
Yeah.
He's projecting his feelings onto the crowd so that he can get a response from them so that he can then play the victim.
Yeah. But it had nothing to do with that. This was not about attacking you. This was not about against LGBT. This was about protecting the innocence of young children. It's keeping their minds safe from that corruption. Yeah, from impurity. If you have an issue with any other character, so therefore go address your school board about that. If you have an issue with heterosexual marriage, you could address the school board. Y'all had an issue with Christians, biblical teachings in school. Didn't y'all get rid of it? Okay, fine. So it's on the same basis this is coming from. The parents, the voice of the majority must be heard, not the minority here. They don't get to drive, and take the leadership position. No, the people in the pews. And if you look at the crowd, and I wanted to highlight the crowd here, you're not just getting Muslim back here. Some of these people are just Christians. So you got Christians and Muslim blending together, even though we have our differences, right? They come together on this issue to fight a common enemy. I love watching stuff like this because oftentimes we get so wrapped up in a religious war. Oh man, I believe this, I don't believe that, I don't believe. But when there is a common enemy, it's amazing to see how willing and ready we are to put aside our differences and focus on what really matters. And
The
I
enemy
love
of my
this.
enemy is my friend.
Yes. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I like that. So I love this. It shows that even Muslim and Christians, we have a lot more in common than we have in our differences. When you come from a state of morality and so on, listen, we are pretty much on the same page on many, many different things. And this woke culture had to remind us of this. And what I love about this is the fact this Muslim culture has so many men who stand their ground. I love this, especially in a world today when men are heavily under attack. I like to see this. But these people got another thing coming. If they think they're gonna fight against Muslim, and I have to give them some credit though, because you have the guts and the boldness to speak like this. Those liberals, they have some guts. You stand against in front of Muslim and speak like that, and only in America you can do that. You know, there are some places in the world you would not even dare to even touch that microphone.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't get anywhere near the microphone in the Middle East.
Yeah, they would throw you off a building. That's what they would
You
do.
wouldn't have even made it in the building.
No, you wouldn't even make it. But again, isn't America good? America is a good country. You know, it even protects your right to be disrespectful and to share your views, even though you know you're going to be hated for it. Hey,
And
this is what it
you
is.
know, it's like they don't understand that. I can't see how they can't comprehend that, you know, they wanted religion out of the schools, but yet this mindset of the sect of people has essentially become a religion in and of itself.
Absolutely, it is a religion.
So
you have to prescribe to it.
Why is that allowed, but not Christianity?
Yeah.
If we're gonna put that in the schools, shouldn't we allow an opposing view? Or
I
are
would
you
agree.
that fragile and scared that your values and principles can't stand on their own 2 feet
There you go.
against what we're proposing?
Yeah, I bet the latter, because I don't think they're ready to confront the opposition here. Because the thing is, in most of the narrative is built on a lie. And the thing is, anytime you expose the truth, you expose the lie to the truth, it loses its power. So the thing is, they feel like they're being under attack, but really, you're not being under attack. They're placing boundaries for you, as it should. You should not be allowed to allow your stuff to get into the minds of innocent children, especially during this stage where their minds are so impressionable. And you want to play this victim mindset as if somebody's out to get you. Stop lying to yourself. That's not what it is. You know, stop making it about you. It's not about you. You are so narcissistic. That's really what your problem is. The thing is that children need to be protected from you. As simple as that. They need to be protected from you, not just your ideology, but from you. And the level of abusiveness that comes along with this so-called notion, I'm just trying to express myself. No, in your self-expression, you are indoctrinating children and you're corrupting their character. And you know where this is going to end? A burning end. So are we supposed to sit there in the name of being tolerant and acceptable, in the name of diversity and equality and inclusion, allowing you to kill little children? No, that's not loving compassion.
Not just kill them, just hurt them.
That's exactly what it is. It's a slow kill, because once they get into that stuff, now they turn around and trying to convert us. You remember the song say, right? We'll convert your children, and your children will come and convert their parents. So now
it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. You messed up my son. You messed up my daughter. Now I have to find a way to change my belief system so that I can accommodate to theirs. Now I have to defend them. And next thing I know, I'm wearing a flag. Next thing I know, I got my LGBT flag now going on. What happened to you? Well, you're trying to please and appease to your children. How did this happen? You didn't protect them when this was happening in their schools. There you have it. It's a domino effect. It's a domino effect. And guess what? We can't have that. We can't play that game.
We got to put a stop to it.
And next thing I know,
opportunity.
We can't even quote a single Bible verse. Next thing you know, we can't even pray. Next thing you know, you can't even say a thing. You got converted. I'm like, I ain't playing that game.
And then they do it to their kids.
It's a process. And can you imagine the generation that will follow with this level of indoctrination? Lord have mercy. I can only imagine. But I'll leave it right there. All right, we right one more before our main discussion here. We have, oh man, here goes my man. We have Peterson here, so let's dive in for another one.
I just wrote an article for the Telegraph, which was the most devastating article I could write. And the fact that we are even having this discussion just strikes me as preposterous. I just wrote an article for the Telegraph, which was the most devastating article I could write. I thought I was done for by writing it. I basically called for the jailing of the butchering surgeons who are doing gender reassignment surgery, so-called, on minors. And I called the American Psychological Association a pack of spineless, cowardly liars. And that's pretty cut and dried, I would say. And all of the comments are positive, all of them. And so there's a tiny minority of people who take issue with what I say from time to time, and they're very noisy, and many of them are journalists, especially female British journalists, as it turns out. But what that seems to manifest itself in the public domain is nothing. I've had no protests to speak of on this tour. We've gone to 60 cities, I think, in 3 months. A handful of protesters, a couple of newspaper articles dragging up mostly old lies.
On the trans issue, because you have been vocal about it, you've written articles and tweeted, is there not a part of you that maybe is afraid that in 30 or 40 years it will be like having been against gay marriage or gay people, or yeah?
Absolutely, 100% not.
Oh.
Most
Do you
of
think this time is different, or?
It's definitely different. Most of the kids who are being surgically mutilated would have grown up to be gay. And the gay community is starting to wake up to that. And so now if you're a 10-year-old boy and you're ambivalent, let's say, or 12-year-old boy or girl, and you're ambivalent about your identity and perhaps about your sexuality, we know the data suggested that a large proportion of kids with that gender, or the body dysmorphia, gender dysmorphia, would grow up gay. But most of them would settle into their body, like 85% of them or so, who have gender dysphoria at the clinical level would settle into their body by the time they're 18. And now, well, a good number of them are slated for hormonal and surgical mutilation.
Do you not think that we as a culture should tolerate the changes, or do you think
no,
we should?
I think we should ban the conversion of minors to people of the opposite sex, so to speak, if they're under 18. And I think we should restore their ability to sue medical professionals who dare to intervene.
But adults? Do you think they should?
Adults, that's a whole different story. You know, most people, if people want to go to hell in a handbasket in their own particular way, they have the right to do that. That's a different issue. But minors, especially minors, period, no. No, and the fact that we are even having this discussion just strikes me as preposterous. All sorts of Western countries have just moved to ban so-called conversion therapy, which wasn't a problem to begin with. There was a handful of fundamentalist Christian, mostly, therapists in the US who purported to offer services to aid homosexual individuals who perhaps wanted to go straight. And the gay community was upset about that. And now we have legislation banning conversion therapy. So you can't even, if you're a therapist, you can no longer really even question the identity claims of your clients. But you can convert kids surgically. So tell me how we can be having this conversation even. It's just beyond comprehension.
Yeah, it's. I think people have very differing views. A lot of people just want to tolerate it and say this is fine.
Tolerate what? Tolerate what? Castration and double mastectomies for 13-year-olds?
Well, yeah,
no, seriously,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
That's not tolerance. That's crossed the line. That is not tolerance. That is an inexcusable silence on the part of the majority, the vast majority, who knows this to be wrong in the deepest possible sense. Most of the bloody Nazi propaganda that led to the extermination policies at the beginning of World War II were predicated initially on compassion and tolerance. So this whole, we're being compassionate and tolerant, it's like, no you're not. You're aiding and abetting the surgical mutilation of minors. That is not compassionate, and it's not tolerant.
Say on.
He's not wrong. I find no lies in what he said.
Me neither.
Like, he's dead right. I mean, this is an absolutely disgusting and barbaric practice that we've started.
Mm-hmm.
I think this whole thing has just set us back as a species.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like you said, the fact we're having this discussion is repulsive, you know. It's
Yeah.
repulsive. You know, again, we've indoctrinated the children and we don't give them an option so much so, and even allowing them to grow and merge out of that phase of their lives, we take advantage of them and make a whole lot of money in the process. And then we turn around and we call it medical care, you know.
I mean,
And
for
now,
crying out loud, we're talking about kids who one day want to be a cowboy, the next day they want to be a firefighter. How are they in any position to make a long-term life-altering decision
mm-hmm.
that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives?
I'll tell you something. The love of money, again, is the root of all kind of evil, the Bible tells us, in which while some coveted after, they err from the faith and pierce themselves through with many sorrows. The real issue here that we're talking about is the greed factor, this avarice, this desire to gain more. It really is what motivating some of this stuff, because you know, those with Vanderbilt Hospital and with, you know, Matt Walsh exposing some of their wickedness. You notice how
Actually,
quickly they were willing to change.
Actually, I think it's a two-pronged approach, because you got that aspect of it, yes, but you also have the parents who push it because they want the attention, saying, "Look at me, look how progressive I am. I'm so progressive. I helped my kid do this." Meanwhile, you got one kid who's like, "Yeah, I do it because my mom tells me to," on their TikTok, and she's
Yeah.
like, "What?" He straight up called her out on the TikTok, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah,
That
yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
you know. So I mean,
I agree.
it isn't
And I think some of these,
necessarily always the kid's choice. I think a lot of times it's the parents pushing the kids in that direction.
yeah, they themselves are indoctrinated, so they just go on to make their kids do the same thing. But I also look at the influence of social media on these kids. You know,
Oh yeah,
some of these
the
kids, like you
social
said,
media
TikTok,
is
like TikTok sick,
huge.
right?
Yeah,
Like TikTok,
TikToxic.
I don't listen, man. I think if your kids is under 16, they should not even have access to social media. Like, I'm not saying they can't have technology. They can. I have a son who has an iPad, but no social media. He's not allowed to even have that. And the one thing I set up on my social media, if you have, you know, Apple and so on, you can set up the account that anything the kids download, he has to have your permission to download it first. So I have that account, I have that set up, and we've had that discussion, and we're not doing that. Yeah, you can download your games, you can read your books, you can watch your so-called YouTube channels and so on. Even those we keeping an eye on as well. But I know there's certain medias that you give these kids at certain age as well played a crucial role, because they don't learn this stuff from home. For the vast majority, they're learning it from outward sources, and then they bring it to their home, and their parents then put a stamp of approval on that, and then the medical experts are saying, "Come over here, we take care of you." You know,
Yeah,
so it's all
we'll
part of the
fix that for
system.
you. We can
Yeah,
cut
we'll fix
that
that.
off and get
And
rid
then
of that, and you
let's
don't need it.
let's also speak about the insurance companies.
Mhm.
You know, like the insurance companies will not support uh certain plastic surgeries because it's considered cosmetic surgery and so on.
Mhm.
It's a personal decision, and they have nothing to do with that because it's not a medical thing. But they do support transgender bottom surgery, right?
Mhm.
A portion of that goes to sponsor these kids and support these kids financially to transition. It's like, how did they come to this conclusion? So
I
we
don't know.
are cutting body parts, and we are literally butchering children, but we're
I
doing
know
it in the name of what? Love and
I know
tolerance and acceptance?
firefighters who had third-degree burns that can't get skin grafts because their insurance won't cover it.
Oh,
But
wow.
yet these kids can get transgender surgery like that.
Oh, goodness. You know, our world is in darkness, man. Our world is in serious darkness. And I think I'm gonna get a verse in Jeremiah here. But yeah, go ahead. If you have anything else to say, we're gonna move on to
It's it's sad to see where we are now as a society because honestly, it's nothing like what it used to be. I don't think anything where we are now is where our forefathers intended us for us to be
Mm-hmm.
or where they foresaw this country being because it's so disgusting and so revolting just on a purely humanitarian basis.
Yeah.
Like you have third world countries where yeah, the living conditions are crap and stuff, but
They
at
have
least
common
they're
sense.
not out mutilating kids
Yeah, they have common sense. Yeah.
or pushing, kids to do well, I mean, there
Yeah.
a lot of kids go missing in places like that because of the trafficking and stuff like that.
True.
But I mean, they usually get shipped away from there to other
Mm-hmm.
places
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But my point is they're not dealing with
Keep going.
having it every single time, every single day, having to hear about it and see it and have it crammed down their throats like we do here with the media and social media, the news media, and on the internet, everywhere. Just every time you turn around, you hear about something like this happening all over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? What is the point?
Yeah. You know, Megan said something here that I think is crucial. And she said, "I don't care anymore about politics, just the immorality, evil in this country and world, and freedom."
That's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, Megan, you can't have one without the other. They're all kind of
Unfortunately,
tied into
yeah,
each other.
it's all intertwined. Unfortunately, yeah. Ah, man. Again, I think what Megan said was what's happening here is this level of immorality, and I think um, the darkness has, the darkness has spread, man. When the Bible speaks about the darkness shall cover the earth and gross darkness the people. Let me
Mhm.
share this with you. It's in the book of Isaiah. There it is. It says, "Arise and shine, for your light is come, for the glory of the Lord, and the glory of the Lord will is risen upon you." And he says, "For the darkness." Let me change this version here. There it goes. "For look, the darkness covers the earth, and deep darkness covers the nations, and the Lord shines upon you, and His splendor appears over you." So what we see happening here is the level of darkness is deepening day by day, and we're seeing like parents are losing sight of their responsibility, and different organization and medical science and so on. They're denying pure biology that they once believed in order to carry out their dirty deeds in the name of what, acceptance and tolerance. So, and we have politicians that are sponsoring some of this nonsense, and it's like, and these kids are suffering. They're suffering, and the voice of the transgenders are also another thing. They don't get to be heard when they speak. They are told that they're crazy. They get name called. They call it turf. They call this and that, just because they say anything that is against the system. They are afraid to talk. So that's another thing too, because it's just a level of wickedness. That stuff is going from bad to worse by the hour. You know, and
Yeah.
somebody got to say something when we just can't sit back and watch this happen over and over again. It's not right.
No, it isn't. And that's the thing is when you got people telling you and trying to tell you that
Mm-hmm.
this is a bad idea, you're hurting people, you should stop. You should probably listen to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think Jordan Peterson's, I agree with what he says. I think some of these doctors need to be put in jail. They need to be locked up and at least be able to sue them because they have immunity. And it's not fair because you destroying the life of young children at a young age for the rest of their lives. They can't fix what you've done to them. Some of them will live with the pain and the suffering that goes with that. Some of them will have these infections for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
you get to go and build and live in your glass house. You get to go home and go to France and party and have a nice time. But you just butchered my sons and daughters.
Mm-hmm. To respond to Megan here, yeah, you can do that, but that works only on a macro level. It doesn't work for the country as a whole, because the politics are what's going to rule over the whole.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And without adding the truth, the morality, the kindness, and love into the politics, you are it's just going to run amok.
True.
They're bedmates. You can't separate the two of them.
Unfortunately, the politician can only go so far, but at least they can put laws in place to protect, just like alcohol with the temperance movement. And then now we have the alcohol laws in you have to be certain age to be able to drink and so on. It doesn't stop people from being irresponsible.
And that's the
but
thing
at
is,
least it lessens our chances of seeing
have
people
to-
abusing their power.
You have to be at least 21 to buy cigarettes. You have to be at least 21 to smoke. You have to be at least 21 to join the military, or 18 to join the military, and 17 with a parent's waiver. Why are we doing this to people who are 10, 11 years old?
I have no idea. I really have no idea.
Who in their right mind thinks that this is a good idea? That this is kids who know what they're doing?
Shame.
Politics can be used for good if it's done right. Like, if Zachariah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It can be a force for good. It's not necessarily. It's like that's the same argument that I hear about the church too. That I'm like, that's not fully balanced. There are some churches that are corrupt, but not all churches are. There are some politicians that are corrupt, but not all politicians are. It can be a tool for good when it allows the people to have their voice and they know how to place boundaries, and the checks and balances are there, and they carrying out their deeds accordingly. Politics is a blessing.
but the problem we have right now is the checks and balances are out of check and out of balances.
Yeah. We gotta offset these issues, because it's gotten to a point where the politicians have become, and again, it's a slippery slope, because they just follow the stream of the culture, and the voice, the squeaky oil, the squeaky, what does it say? The
squeaky wheel.
The squeaky
gets the
eel
grease.
gets the grease, right? Gets the grease. So those transgender people have been among the loudest. So they've been screaming and crying and weeping. So they're getting the attention that they've been begging for from politicians, unfortunately. So it's like now we're looking at this stuff, we're like, oh no, this has gone bad, and we're trying to push back against it. But in a large degree, the voice of the majority should have been heard. Why did we leave these minorities speaking over and over again? Like it's like
Because
now
we're late. We're late to the party.
Yeah, we are late. It's like this have been going on. They've been partying. They've been talking this nonsense. They've been working on these surgeries. These surgeries has been going on for a long time. It's now being exposed.
Yeah.
But this stuff has been happening. So it's like we
You
are.
think
like,
this
we
is
are-
something new? No,
It's
this
nothing
isn't new.
new. But again, the issue is, I think, again, being a Christian, part of our issue is we are just way too quiet for among the Christian community. It's just that the church has become, I don't know how to say it, a bunch of cowards, to be exact. And this is not to say all Christians are like that, but for the vast majority and the size of the Christian faith today, to see how very little we do in addressing some of our issues in the world, shame on us. And I'm putting myself in that category too. Shame on
too.
us, because there is no way we should even allow this stuff to go on. The thing is, we got caught up in the name calls. I don't want to be called transphobic. I just want to. Yeah, and we have this, like Jordan Peterson calls it, narcissistic compassion. We think we're being compassionate to people, but in the process, they're destroying themselves. And once they're done destroying themselves, they come after us. And now we're like, wait a minute, I just want to make my cake. You tell me to put 2 men on the cake. I can't do that. But now you come after me. and you use
And
you
once they're
use
done with everyone else, who's left to defend you?
yeah. And now some of them have the audacity to come to your church and they say, unless you marry me, it is discrimination. And if I say I can't marry you because the Bible doesn't say it's okay to do that, and there goes a lawsuit for you. So even by the time you fight this lawsuit, you lose so much money. Even though you might not lose, but you end up spending so much
Losing.
time and effort. Yeah, you end up losing anyway because they got money. The LGBT community have the backing of a lot of financial systems, so they can use that, even have you running around crazy fighting against them.
Because you got to spend money on court costs, you got to spend money on lawyers, you got to
And
take time
time.
off from work.
It's like, do you really want to go through all that nonsense? And why? Because part of the issue is the church has been silent. Another thing that I think I said it in one of my messages before is that the other issue that the world is speaking up from, and I know a lot of people don't see this. I see it because I read in my Bible. I see it. There's a teaching in the church. It's called antinomianism. Very few Christian knows about this. They know the notion, they know the definition, they just don't know the term where it came from. The antinomianism means anti, nomian means law, so it's anti-law. It's an anti-law theology, and the way it works is there is this notion in the Christian faith that because of grace, we don't need the 10 Commandments, right? So they say, Jesus saves me. I'm saved by the grace of Christ. I'm saved by the goodness of the Lord, His mercy and His love. So what they promote is the loving side of God, but not the principles of His law. So what you end up having is it's a lopsided gospel. So you have this gospel that emphasizes love and compassion. That's why you see all these prosperity preachers and all the Joel Osteen. They're building on the theology of antinomianism. That's why you will hear prosperity gospel, the love of God, Jesus saves, but they don't talk about repentance. So repentance is not part of the message. So if to talk about repentance, you have to lift up the law, because the law is a mirror and it shows us our true condition. So here it is. The Christian church doesn't promote the 10 Commandments. They only promote the love of Jesus. So what you end up having is lovey-dovey. So therefore, no principles. So as a result of having nothing but love and no principles, now the church is now going on with this notion saying, hey, the law has been nailed to the cross. You might have heard this before. The law has been nailed to the cross. Is the law of Moses, doesn't apply to us today. We think that was like, oh, okay, it's just a matter of the church. But what we don't realize, the world responds to the attitude of the church. That's something the church should already know, because the Bible says we are the light of the world. So
it responds to the church that most reflects their views and values.
Absolutely. So if the doctrine of the church is false, the world will react to that. And the world is looking at the Christians saying, if the Christians say the law of God is nailed to the cross, we have pastors that are getting married, we have homosexual pastors, and we have ministers that are doing all kind of wicked things, and abusing children and so on. So the world sees all that. Guess what that means? That means anything goes. So what I'm trying to say is part of the blames falls on the Christian church, and we can sit there and act like we had nothing to do with this. It's none of our business. Well, maybe you
we don't hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, maybe you didn't. Maybe I didn't. But since we are part of the body of Christ, we have to take responsibility for this stuff and realize that we are part of the problems as well. We have been teaching the world and leaving them a message that is not fully correct about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we also have been pressing down the 10 Commandments of God. We have not been lifting it up. And he said, I went to preach at a church recently, and I was invited as a guest speaker. And they wanted me to preach a very prosperity message. They told me exactly what to preach. But I prayed. I'm one of those guys, you can't tell me what to do. Especially when I'm convicted. So I prayed, and the Lord is like, after I finished praying, the message that was on my heart was repentance. So I went to that place, and it was crazy. I mean, you probably saw part of it. I had a video. I had to take it down anyway. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of music, loud music. People were leaping and jumping and everything. Me and my wife and son, we were just sitting there because we don't get caught up in that emotional, spiritual stuff. We don't get caught up in that. We like our worship to be intellectual and truthful and honest. So we don't like to get into, oh Lord, praise the Lord, hallelujah, amen, and all that emotional, Pentecostalism stuff. I'm like, nah. I'm just gonna let them do their thing. So when they finish worshiping and praising the Lord, it was my time to preach. My man, I only had 20 minutes on the pulpit. The first 5 minutes of my sermon, over 75% of the church left. What did I do? I didn't do anything. All I simply did was I opened the Bible. I began to speak about the love of God, and I showed them to understand God's love, there must be deep repentance. And I was showing how God is very serious about sin. I started to call out the sins that are in the world, and I was helping the church to realize it's more than just good music. It's more than just how loving we are. It's about how sincere we are in our worship, in our serving the Lord. Bruh, before I knew it, the church was like emptied. I think there was like, we went from like over 90 people to like 10 people sitting in the pews.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting to
It's
myself. I'm
more
like,
it's more than just about feeling good. It's
yeah,
about being good.
yeah. And I thought to myself, so you didn't want to hear that message? I felt like, some of them say, oh, I just had to go. I had to do this at the end of the service. Some of them actually left the place
Then
and sat
what
outside of the place.
do you do this every week?
I don't do this often.
No, I mean, no, I'd be asking them.
Oh,
Is this
them,
what you
but
do
they're not
every
used.
week?
They're not used to this type of message. Yeah, I can see, but that's not. No, that's definitely not what what they were expecting was totally a message of unity
I
and
know.
prosperity and the love of God. But I'm like thinking to myself, I'm not Joe Austin. I'm not cry for a dollar. Give me $1. I'm not your guy. You got the wrong person for this for this duty here.
Hey,
My
I
goal
applaud
was,
you for sticking to your convictions, man.
yeah, man, I stuck to my conviction and I shared the word, and everybody was sad. But the few people that stayed, they came to me and said that's exactly what I needed to hear. You see, it was uncomfortable, but it was true. I say, I gotta tell you, I didn't like the message, but when I know what you were saying and how truthful it was, it meant the world to me. So the few gets it, but the majority took off. And I stood there. I'm like, there goes the true nature of the church that you and I don't see.
That's what Jesus always preached is,
Yeah.
I haven't come for the many, but the few.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what we're seeing today. It's just the attitude of the church and the character of the church is being reflected to the world. All that transgender stuff, all that homosexual stuff, all that crazy LGBT, even the wokeology we see in the world today, you can trace it back to the church. Unfortunately, it came from there. It started leaking from within the church. And now there you have it in the world. And now the church folks are looking at it and say, oh, we got to do something about this. Well, it started with us, right? We were part of the problem. We just to let you know. So, yeah, it's a unfortunate reality. It is what it is. Now that we have to deal with it. Let's move on to our next point here. In this one, I'm gonna let this one run. I'm gonna hop on my phone because I gotta pick up my daughter. She's right down the block from me because this is 30 minutes. So I'm gonna let it run and then I'll run back to the stream once again. But the first 15 minutes I can sit and hang out with you. So do you want to give us a little background behind this again for those of us who may be joining the live stream right now? What exactly are we going to be looking at?
We're going to hear Mr. D. Snider from the 80s hair metal band Twisted Sister talking to Congress about censorship.
Yeah.
This was back in, I believe, 84, 85. He has at least an honorary doctorate, and he's also an ordained pastor. I believe he actually has 2 college degrees. He's actually a very intelligent man, and when he talks to Congress, you're going to be very impressed with what he has to say.
I have to admit, a lot of rock and roll artists, unless you really pay attention to their message, there's a lot of symbolic way of them speaking. You might take things for face value, but really is the message behind the message that matters most. I had to learn to understand that, and I'm still learning. So I'm actually really excited to see where this is going, especially when we're talking about censorship and all the crazy stuff that goes along with that. So
yeah,
I'm really,
heavy metal uses a lot of metaphor when you listen to it.
Yeah, metaphors and symbolism and so on. Yeah, which is crucial. So hey, let's get into the heart of this message. I'll mute myself here.
Take the Saturday. Take the Saturday.
Mr. Snider, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here. I don't know if it's morning or afternoon. I'll say both. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is D. Snider. That's S-N-I-D-E-R. I have been asked to come here to present my views on, quote, the subject of the content of certain sound recordings and suggestions that recording packages be labeled to provide a warning to prospective purchasers of sexually explicit or other potentially offensive content, unquote. Before I get into that, I'd like to tell the committee a little bit about myself. I'm 30 years old, I'm married, I have a 3-year-old son. I was born and raised a Christian, and I still adhere to those principles. Believe it or not, I do not drink, I do not smoke, and I do not do drugs. I do play in and write the songs for a rock and roll band named Twisted Sister that is classified as heavy metal. And I pride myself on writing songs that are consistent with my above-mentioned beliefs. There are many facets to this complex issue, and time does not permit me to address all of them. However, my feelings are expressed for the most part by the August 8, 1985 letter to the Parents Music Resource Center from Mr. Stanley Gordikoff, President of the Recording Industry Association of America. This letter was a formal response to the PMRC's petition of the RIAA. The only part of this document I do not support is Mr. Gordikoff's unnecessary and unfortunate decision to agree to a so-called generic label on some selected records. In my opinion, this should be retracted. Since I seem to be the only person addressing this committee today who has been a direct target of accusations from the presumably responsible PMRC, I would like to use this occasion to speak on a more personal note and show just how unfair the whole concept of lyrical interpretation and judgment can be, and how many times this can amount to little more than character assassination. I have taken the liberty of distributing to you material and lyrics pertaining to these accusations. There were 3 attacks in particular which I would like to address. Accusation number 1. This attack was contained in an article written by Tipper Gore, which was given the form of a full page in my hometown newspaper on Long Island. In this article, Ms. Gore claimed that one of my songs, Under the Blade, had lyrics encouraging sadomasochism, bondage, and rape. The lyrics she quoted have absolutely nothing to do with these topics. On the contrary, the words in question are about surgery and the fear that it instills in people. Furthermore, the reader of this article is led to believe that the 3 lines she quotes go together in the song, when, as you can see from reading the lyrics, the first 2 lines she cites are an edited phrase from the 2nd verse, and the 3rd line is a misquote of a line from the chorus. That the writer could misquote me is curious, since we make it a point to print all our lyrics on the inner sleeve of every album. As the creator of Under the Blade, I can say categorically that the only sadomasochism, bondage, and rape in this song is in the mind of Ms. Gore. Accusation number 2. The PMRC has made public a list of 15 of what they feel are some of the most blatant songs lyrically. On this list is our song, We're Not Gonna Take It, upon which has been bestowed a V rating indicating violent lyrical content. You'll note from the lyrics before you that there is absolutely no violence of any type either sung about or implied anywhere in the song. Now, it strikes me that the PMRC may have confused our video presentation for this song with the meaning of the lyrics. It's no secret that videos often depict storylines completely unrelated to the lyrics of the song they accompany. The video for We're Not Gonna Take It was simply meant to be a cartoon with human actors playing variations on the Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote theme. Each stunt was selected from my extensive personal collection of cartoons. You'll note when you watch the entire video that after each catastrophe our villain suffers through, in the next sequence he reappears unharmed by any previous attack, no worse for the wear. By the way, I'm very pleased to note that the United Way of America has been granted a request to use portions of our We're Not Gonna Take It video in a program they are producing on the subject of the changing American family. They asked for it because of its, quote, lighthearted way of talking about communicating with teenagers, unquote. It is gratifying that an organization as respected as the United Way of America appreciates where we're coming from. I've included a copy of the United Way's request as part of my written testimony. Thank you, United Way. Accusation number 3. Last Tuesday, a public forum regarding the lyric controversy was held in New York. Among the panelists was Ms. Gore. Trying to stem the virtual tidal wave of anti-rating sentiment coming from the audience, Ms. Gore made the following statement, quote, "I agree this is a small percentage of all music, thank goodness, but it's becoming more mainstream. You look at even the t-shirts the kids are wearing, and you see Twisted Sister and a woman in handcuffs sort of spread-eagled," unquote. This is an outright lie. Not only have we never sold a shirt of this type, we have always taken great pains to steer clear of sexism in our merchandise, records, stage show, and personal lives. Furthermore, we have always promoted the belief that rock and roll should not be sexist, but should cater to males and females equally. I feel that an accusation of this type is irresponsible, damaging to our reputation, and slanderous. I defy Ms. Gore to produce such a shirt to back up her claim. I'm tired of running into kids on the street who tell me that they can't play our records anymore because of the misinformation their parents are being fed by the PMRC on TV and in the newspapers. These are the only 3 accusations I've come across. All 3 are totally unfounded. Who knows what other false and irresponsible things have been said about me or my band. There happens to be one area where I'm in complete agreement with the PMRC, as well as the National PTA and probably most of the parents on this committee. That is, it is my job as a parent to monitor what my children see, hear, and read during their preteen years. The full responsibility for this falls on the shoulders of my wife and I because there is no one else capable of making these judgments for us. Parents can thank the PMRC for reminding them that there is no substitute for parental guidance, but that is where the PMRC's job ends. The beauty of literature, poetry, and music is that they leave room for the audience to put its own imagination, experiences, and dreams into the words. The examples I cited earlier showed clear evidence of Twisted Sister's music being completely misinterpreted and unfairly judged by supposedly well-informed adults. We cannot allow this to continue. There is no authority who has the right or the necessary insight to make these judgments. Not myself, not the federal government, not some recording industry committee, not the PTA, not the RIAA, and certainly not the PMRC. I'd like to thank the committee for this time, and I hope my testimony will aid you in clearing up this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Snider.
Darth Vader, before we move to part two.
Yes.
That was a serious speech, man.
Yeah, like I said, he's very well spoken and very articulate, and he knows what he's talking about.
Wow. I can see how that it has, the tentacles of that discussion in the place nowadays.
And I can understand how some people may find it ironic how we showed the other videos earlier about the books being distributed to children, and now we're showing this and discussing this.
Mm-hmm.
Difference being is these books are being forced onto children, whereas these records are something in albums and songs and music are something children are seeking out and trying to listen to on their own.
Absolutely, and I will even go as far to say, because these books are not an option. These records are an option.
Exactly.
You don't have to listen, and there is a level of maturity that you should have But these books where it has nothing to do with maturity. They're catching you at it and so on. So I think that is also a factor as well.
It's a huge factor.
And there's another
major factor.
thing. There's another thing he said. It's not the response of the world to raise our children. You know, it is our responsibility as parents, the best instruction possible within our home, in the hope that they can make decisions for themselves. Because no matter what you teach your kids, if they want to do evil, they're gonna do it, even if it doesn't exist. You know, the thing is just record labels can certainly do what they do, but they are not the kids. They still gonna express their view and perspective in a way that they want to. It's the right thing, and empower them to choose for themselves what is right and wrong. But them, no matter what we do, it's not really. I mean, the solution starts within the home, but ultimately it is left with the kids themselves to make.
Yeah, and you know, you as a parent, you're supposed to raise your child to the best of your ability, and then once they reach adulthood and leave the house, you hope you've done your job well enough that they make the right decisions in life to do the best that they can for themselves.
That's right. That's right.
And really that's what it boils down to, is the major difference between what we saw earlier in the PTA meeting versus now with him is the teachers in the PTA meeting were pushing this agenda on the kids, forcing it, trying to, you know, mold the minds of the youth outside of the parents' wishes.
That's a huge difference. That's a big difference. So that's what the next part is going to be about, so we know what to expect.
Yep.
All right, are you ready to go for part two?
Go for it.
I get a glass with some water, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a cameraman, you can do it. Thank you, sorry.
Mr. Snider, let's suppose that there is music which, say, glorifies incest, not yours. Let's suppose that there is some music that glorifies incest. Do you think that, parents should know about it? Or do you think that it's just a matter between whoever's selling the record and whoever's buying it?
As I said in my testimony, I think it's very important that parents be aware of that these lyrics exist.
How could they find out about it?
Well, quite simply, as a parent myself and as a rock fan, I know that when I see an album cover with a severed goat's head in the middle of a pentagram between a woman's legs, that it's not the kind of album I want my son to be listening to.
Right.
If I read a title on the back of, say, somebody said Ice Cream Castle, a title called If the Kid Can't Make You Come, whatever it is, I realize that's a sexually explicit song. By just looking at the cover, looking at the lyrics, looking at the, I should say, the titles, that should cover just about all bases. The few albums that do not express their intentions on the cover or in the song titles, I think a parent could take it home, listen to it, and I don't think there's too many retail stores that would deny them the ability to return the album for something different.
Do you think that that most parents, or even kids for that matter, know everything that's on an album when they buy when a child buys an album?
I don't know half the things that are on half the albums I own.
Right.
Some of the bands I listen for musical reasons. Other bands I listen to for lyrical reasons. I know that AC/DC, one of my favorite bands, sings a lot of songs glorifying hell and damnation. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in, I don't want to go to hell, and I don't want to be damned for all time, but I do like the feel of the songs. The lyrics have no effect on me. Other bands who have more to say, I listen to their words and I learn from their words.
Do you think that now there is adequate basis for parents to know what's on the records that their kids are buying?
I think if they really are concerned, there is. But quite honestly, I don't think that the majority of parents are in reality as concerned as the PMRC or myself. I don't think they really want to spend the time to listen to what they might consider to be a bunch of noise. You know, they put it on and they can't understand the thing that's being said anyway. So I think most of them don't spend enough time with it.
Senator Hollings?
Yes, Mr. Snider, I think I'd just take the opportunity to make an observation because you and I would differ as to what's obscene or what's shocking or what's vulgar. And persons of goodwill will differ on that particular score. I think that somewhere in this hearing record, we should not be on the defensive and we shouldn't create the atmosphere that we're powerless. The absolute nature of your statement that we don't have any authority, I only want to refer everyone to the Pacifica Foundation case, where the Federal Communications Commission was questioned as to its power to regulate public radio, TV broadcasts that was indecent but not obscene. You see, they differed between what was indecent, what was obscene, and what was shocking. They had the 7 dirty words. I think everyone remembers that case on the West Coast. And the Supreme Court of the United States found out positively the FCC had the authority, had the responsibility, and I'm quoting from the language of the Supreme Court, patently offensive, indecent material presented over the airwaves confronts the citizen not only in public, but also in the privacy of the home where the individual's right to be left alone plainly outweighs the First Amendment rights of an intruder. So this isn't just a forum to rally one way or the other and hope something happens. This is a forum with a definite responsibility with respect to Congress and enunciating the duties of the Federal Communications Commission, which have been constitutionally followed. So I understand your opinion, and that's why we invited you up here to hear your words and not mine, but I think that the general nature of all this testimony of nothing censorship, First Amendment absolutism does not pertain with respect to the broadcast media, and that's, of course, the main media, I guess you would agree, to actually sell the record, wouldn't it not be?
Yes, because I'd like to clarify something. I said no authority has the right or necessary insight. I didn't say you weren't able to. I said you don't have the right, or I don't have the right, or the RIAA. Also, we're talking about the airwaves as opposed to a person going with their money to purchase an album, to play in their room, their home, on their own time. The airwaves is something different. I think that the FCC and even MTV have done a fair job in keeping profanity, obscenity, and things like that off the public airwaves. But as far as what you listen to your own home, that's something totally different, I feel.
Yeah, I think that record ought to be elaborated to show just that. Previously, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, before this committee, we had the TV networks. And pursuant to that particular hearing, they again came back, I remember specifically CBS, and they demonstrated how they had this film, and then they got together with the producer and removed certain scenes of violence and certain 4-letter words and did not offend the producer's sense of art and the production itself. So we've made some progress, but bottom line with respect to these particular records, the Supreme Court has found that there is that right and that responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Gore.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, are you going to tell me you're a big fan of my music as well?
No, I'm not. I'm not a fan of your
sorry,
music.
Mr. Gore.
I'm aware that Frank Zappa and John Denver cover quite a spectrum, and I do enjoy them both. I am not, however, a fan of Twisted Sister, and I will readily say that. Mr. Snider, what is the name of your fan club?
The fan club is called the SMF Friends of Twisted Sister.
And what does SMF stand for when it's spelled out?
It stands for the Sick Motherfucking Friends of Twisted Sister.
Is this also a Christian group?
I don't believe that profanity has anything to do with Christianity. Thank you.
That It's just an interesting choice because I was getting the impression from your presentation that you were a very wholesome kind of performer, and that is an interesting title for your fan club. In Surge, you say your song, Under the Blade, is about surgery. Have you ever had surgery with your hands tied and your legs strapped?
The song was written about my guitar player, Eddie Ojeda. He was having polyps removed from his throat, and he was very fearful of this operation. And I said, Eddie, while you're in the hospital, I'm going to write a song for you. I said it was about the fear of operations. I think people imagine being helpless on a table, a bright light in their face, the blade coming down on them, and having totally afraid that they may wake up, who knows, dead, handicapped. There's a certain fear of hospitals. That's in my imagination what I see the hospitals like.
Is there a reference to the hospital in the song?
No, there isn't, but there isn't a reference to a woman, sadomasochism, or bondage, yes, I'm sorry.
There's just a reference to someone whose hands are tied down and whose legs are strapped down, and he's going under the blade to be cut.
Yes, there is.
All right. So it's not really a wild leap of the imagination to jump to the conclusion that that's about something other than surgery or hospitals, neither of which are mentioned in the song.
No, it's not a wild jump, and I think what I said in one part was that songs allow a person to put their own imagination, experiences, and dreams into the lyrics. People can interpret it many ways. Ms. Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Someone looking for surgical references would have found it as well.
Yeah. Why do you think there is so much sadomasochism and bondage in some of these new songs?
I cannot speak for the other artists. I can really am only here to defend myself, and hopefully by speaking for myself as one person, songwriter in a band that I feel has been unjustly dumped on, that will just warn us of the dangers of what we're trying to do here. I really can't speak for the other bands.
Now, you made reference to a comment about T-shirts. I would simply note for the record that the word T-shirts was in plural, and one of them referred to a twisted sister, and the other referred to a woman in handcuffs, and was not intended, as I understand it, to say that you appear with a woman in handcuffs. In fact, there are a lot of different T-shirts and advertisements. In fact, I've noticed from some of the fan magazines of particularly heavy metal that little sadomasochistic outfits are advertised with the fingerless gloves and spikes and studs on them, and that these little S&M outfits are marketed to teens and preteens. Is that correct?
Well, they are marketed. Who buys them, I'm not sure. I'd just like to say, in reference to the comment about T-shirts, I have with me a taped cassette of the exact...
No, I'm reading from your transcript of it in your statement.
I have to check the transcript, but again, I'll say when it was said, there was no question she was referring to a Twisted Sister T-shirt. There was no question if I played the tape for anybody.
In your own transcript, it's plural T-shirts, and two examples are cited, but I don't want to belabor that point. Now, you said that you can look at the titles of albums and look at the covers and tell what kind of material is inside. Does the title Purple Rain give you an indication that the material is about masturbation?
Do you mean the album title, Purple Rain?
Yeah.
Not the song title.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I didn't say in all cases. I believe I covered that, those occasional albums that are a bit misleading. That, like I said, I don't think a store would refuse a parent who came in and said, I don't like what's on this record, I would like my money back.
So the choice the parent has, then, is to sit down and listen to every song on the album, right?
Or read the lyrics if they're on the record.
What if they're not on the... I mean, I think there's pretty general agreement that if the lyrics are printed, that's one possible solution for this. Let's suppose the lyrics aren't printed. Then what choice does a parent have? To sit down and listen to every song on the album?
Well, if they're really concerned about it, I think that they have to.
Do you think that's reasonable to expect parents to do that?
Being a parent isn't a reasonable thing. It's a very hard thing. I'm a parent and I know. Okay, I'm a new parent. I only have one child maybe, but I am learning that there's a lot to being a parent that you didn't expect. It's not just, oh, isn't baby cute? There's a lot of labor and a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes into it. It's not totally pleasurable.
Yeah, and you'll find when they get a little bit older that when they're exposed to the kinds of themes that we were presented with earlier, that if you love your child, you're going to be concerned about that. And if you want to protect that child from unnecessary exposure to inappropriate material, you sometimes need a little help, the kind of guidance that is presented in the movie industry, and it is totally unreasonable, in my view, to expect parents to come and sit down and listen to every single song in the albums that their children buy in order to fulfill their responsibilities as parents. Now, the only thing that I felt at all comfortable about in your statement was when you said that you shared some of the concerns of the PMRC. I would simply hope that, or end by expressing the hope, because my time has expired, that artists and record companies will find a way to manifest that concern in some self-restraint and show of responsibility to give parents a break. You're right, it's tough being a parent. It's even tougher being a kid. If both are going to be able to deal with the kind of material that's coming out in popular music, it seems to me the industry has a responsibility to give them a little help. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rockefeller.
Mr. Snider, how would you, do you feel that you have a responsibility as an artist in terms of those words that you write, a responsibility for those who would hear those words?
I feel a tremendous responsibility, and as I said, I don't put anything down on a record that I can't stand behind in my beliefs 100%. I don't sing about drugs, sex, alcohol, because I don't advocate sex.
Go ahead, Darth Vader.
So yeah, that was the illustrious Al Gore that we just heard get owned by Mr. D.
Global warming guy?
Yeah, Mr. Global Warming guy who lost Florida. Basically, I mean, he's basically warning us that, you know, it's not the government's job to dictate to a parent what their kids can and can't listen to, or can and can't see, or can and can't watch. It's up to the parents to do their due diligence and pay attention to what their kids are doing. Pay attention to what your kids are listening to. Pay attention to what your kids are reading. Pay attention to everything that is going on in your kids' lives. Be a part of your children's lives so that, you know, you lead them down the right path. And he just said it perfectly. Being a parent isn't always easy. That's the ugly truth.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, he's right. It's not the government's job to play daddy. It's not the government's job to play mommy.
No.
The government should stay out of it. Let parents be parents and do what they need to do what's right and best for their children. Whether it's local government, big government, I don't care. Period.
Yeah. I mean, the government has a responsibility to protect and care and provide in some means, but
No,
they're not
the government
they're not the tools for morality. They're not.
The government's responsibility starts and ends with protecting the borders of the country and setting laws to make sure that people are prosecuted according to the laws of the land. That's it.
Yeah,
that's where it
when they start
starts
going
and
into
ends.
people's when they start going into people's music to, I guess, determine what is moral and what is not is like an overreach.
It's a
to-
huge overreach. And
Yeah, I agree.
now look at where we are because of it. Now we got YouTube videos being banned because of quote unquote misinformation or quote unquote, hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I
it has
mean, it's
spread.
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's gotten so bad that we have to be careful what we say about basic discussions and stuff. But that's where it all began. It started on their, and at least it started like on a positive. I don't want to say positive. It started like they were trying to do something positive to protect children and stuff like that. But now here we are.
I
But
don't even think that was the case. I think it was they knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to implement control because every single person he's talked to so far has been a Democrat.
oh, interesting too. I didn't think notice of that.
Because
Wow.
back then, even back then, Al Gore was a Democrat,
Yeah.
and so were his colleagues. This is all like the majority of the committee is Democratic.
Yeah. I think the challenge I have for D. Snider, since he claims to be a Christian, does his music really reflect Christian values in accordance with his belief? I haven't heard all his music, so I can't really say. I know we're not gonna take it. I know some of that. I wouldn't say that's bad, but I don't know, so I can't judge. I can only
Well,
say
it's
so.
like he said, it depends on your interpretation.
Yeah,
He
your
he
interpretation.
leaves it up to individual interpretation. How you interpret his songs is up to you.
True. Wow. Again.
So, like Under the Knife, where he wrote that song for his friend who had a fear of having surgery, that's what the intent and the meaning was.
And
If
they probably
somebody
was.
took that as something else, that's
That's your
on them, not
that's your
him.
interpretation. Yeah. But again, maybe DC's music during this time wasn't. I wouldn't say anything that was considered as bad as we have it now.
Oh no, it's
Because
nothing like what we
yeah,
have now. Like
I
nothing
was
like drill music or
not
anything
even
like that.
close. Not even close. Because I think Andrew Tate. I have a little note here. Andrew Tate was talking with Pierce Morgan. One thing he said was, "You think I'm a bad guy? Listen, kids are listening to Little Nas X. They're listening to drill music, and they grinding on the devil. But the thing is, they're listening to WAP, and by Cardi B and Megan Stallion and so on. So these are the role model for our children today. They don't get
Hmm.
censored.
Nope.
Uh, but you going after Andrew Tate?
Or back in the day,
You
D.
going after?
Snider
Yeah.
for talking about
It's a
his
slippery
friend having
slope.
surgery.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. And there were other rock and roll or even heavy metal music that, like he mentioned, that were explicitly sexual, very demonic. They were not hiding it; it's in your face. And if you want to go and dive into some of that stuff, I mean, that's you. There's some rock and roll
Yeah.
music and heavy metal songs I can't react to them. I tried to, and I said I couldn't make anything positive out of the lyrics. I
Right.
was looking at some. I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah.
It's just even if I have to criticize it, that's the only thing I could do. I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time doing that
Right.
and make people upset. If this is their song, if you want to go listen to it, you can. I just know this line for me, I can't cross that line because there's no way I can rightfully glorify God through that song. And there are a number of them. I don't need to call anybody's names. You can. I leave that to interpretation, of course. But again, it's just very same. It's similar argument we're talking about
Yeah.
here.
Like he said, AC/DC. Some of their songs are straight up talking, highway to hell.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's nothing to hide
there's
here.
nothing to hide there. It's plain as day in your face.
Yeah.
You
If
know.
you wanna go there, you're more than welcome to do so on your own. That's your choice.
But I'm not following.
Yeah.
Granted,
Sympathy for the devil. Man. What else do you want?
granted, I like the music.
Yeah.
The musical aspect of it,
Yeah.
I like, but as far as the lyrics are concerned, I could care less for the lyrics.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's got a nice beat, it's got a nice rhythm. I like the guitars, but I wish they had put better lyrics to it.
Yeah. Don't speak the truth, or you'll be canceled, as they say. So let him finish here, and then we bring this thing to an end.
Sexism, the use of drugs, and drinking. So I don't write about those things. I only write about things I believe in.
And that's the way you define what your responsibility is? That is, not to write about things that you don't believe in?
Yeah, that's how I define my responsibility. To write about things that you can stand behind. I feel myself to be a moral person, and I think that I have a lot of positive things to tell people about. And everything, like I said, on my records, I will stand there and say, yes, I wrote those words, and this is what it meant, and this is what I was trying to say, yes.
Do you think that, parents, not only those who are in PMRC, but other parents who are concerned here and across the country about the development of new trends in music and the lyrics that go along with that music are naive or somehow missing the point? Do you think that they're unduly worried about some of these the developments and writings about sadomasochism, suicide, rape, other things? I mean, do you think that's really not that serious a problem for this country and our young people?
That's like sort of a multiple question. I don't think they're naive, and I don't think that at times they're unduly worried, but I do think sometimes they take it overly serious. I mean, there are monster movies on all the time. They've been going on for ages, and people watch a monster movie and they get scared and they walk away, and it was just a movie. Rock and roll, and many times, is the same thing, trying to get an effect either of laughter, of sadness. A lot of the heavy metal bands are trying to scare people and just make them just like a horror movie. Vincent Price isn't getting have problems because he's done all these monster pictures. He's just an actor. I'm not going to say I'm just an actor, but I am entertaining people, and a lot of these bands are entertaining people. And when they were reading some of these lyrics before, I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, I hadn't heard some of them, but some of the lyrics were ridiculously ridiculous. I mean, you know, and a kid, even a kid reading that, I think would go, oh my God, what's going on? You know, it's ridiculous. The only word I can think of. Some of the lyrics.
In the vehemence with which you attacked Senator Gore's wife, I detected sort of a defensiveness somehow on your part, sort of a lack of unsureness of where you stand in this. Why did you feel it necessary to attribute some of the qualities to her that you did? Why was that important to your testimony?
First of all, I wasn't attacking Senator Gore's wife. I was attacking a member of the PMRC. Okay, I was
Senator Gore's wife by name.
Oh, her name is Tipper Gore, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't say the senator's wife. I said Tipper Gore. Okay. Secondly, defensive. I've been working very hard. I believe in the music I play. I believe we have a very bad reputation, and I've been doing a lot on my part to try and say, hey, this isn't a bad thing. This is fun. This is fantasy. Kids are coming out. They're screaming. They're yelling. They're letting out their emotions, and they're going home and they're feeling better because they let out a lot of their frustrations. As I said, I pride myself on writing lyrics that are not offensive and that are saying something positive. Most of my songs are about personal freedom. And when somebody tells me, after all I've done to fight against sexism, that I've got a shirt with a spread eagle woman, or it says
to fight what?
All I've done to fight sexism. We steer clear. The whole Twisted Sister thing is a very ambiguous. Guys wearing makeup. We don't act like women. We act like men. We don't cater to the males or females in the audience. It's just one audience. So when someone says there's a song about sadomasochism and bondage, or someone says we're not going to take it, is violent lyrical content, which is what it's been rated for, yes, I'm defensive. Yes, that gets me angry. I'm trying to get adults to see that heavy metal is not totally a bad thing.
How many months in the course of a year do you spend on the road, away from home?
In the course of a year, it would be tough to say. Over a 2-year period, because I would spend about 11 months on the road and 13 months at home recording an album, things like that, doing videos.
11 months on the road in a 2-year period?
Yeah, because you do a tour and then you go in and record albums. I've been off the road now for 10 months.
You take your child with you?
He comes sometimes, some of the shows.
Your child, 9 years from now, when your child is 12 and in school, will you take your child with you?
Absolutely.
When your child's in school?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying. No, I would not take him out of school.
And how will it be possible for you to, as a responsible parent, to spend the time that you suggest going through and listening to these records and finding out what it is that you want your son to listen to and what you don't want him to listen to?
To be perfectly honest, 9 years from now, I'm going to be well retired. And I'll be spending more time with my son than any other parent probably ever spends. That's one of the beautiful things about rock and roll, is that I can retire hopefully at a very early age. But even now, I'm very lucky that I have a wife who I've been going with for 10 years now. We've been married for 4, who is this incredible mother. And she, when I'm gone, fills the role, it's a very difficult job too, of mother and father.
Does she go through these, do you expect later on then that she'll be going through these records?
I think both of us will be doing that.
You expect me to believe that?
Oh, you can. I'm terminally teenage. I'll be listening to my son's records. And
what about parents where both parents have to work, which is an increasing phenomenon in this country now, because they have to survive? And the whole notion of parents sitting down and listening to record after record, tape after tape, doesn't that really strike you, and that's what you suggested, doesn't that strike you as just a little bit naive and unrealistic?
No, I don't, because I know the reality of the record buying market. As a record buyer, with my allowance, I was able to, if I was lucky, afford maybe 1 album a week at the most. Usually it was 1 a month. Albums cost anywhere from $6 to $10, and that's a lot of money to a teenager, to a pre-teenage. It's a ridiculous sum. To a teenage kid, you know, that's a considerable amount of money. So to listen to 1 record a week, I don't consider that a hardship.
Senator Pressler?
Just one final question, Mr. Chairman.
Bearing in mind that it's 12:30 and we have a lot of witnesses left, yes.
Well, then I won't ask the question. I'll bear that in mind and won't ask the question.
Thank you. Senator Pressler?
All right, go ahead, my friend. There was a lot in this.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, it's like he saw the writing on the wall and he was trying to stand up for parental rights. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, parents, you need to do your due diligence. You need to do what you need to do to be a parent. You need to do what the government, keep the government out of your kids' lives, because otherwise, look at where we are now when we do let the government run our kids' lives.
Yeah.
We have our schools are indoctrinating our kids into wrong think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know in his days, things was, you know, we can make some transition, but things is not. For example, like people don't even buy albums like that anymore. Like you can go on Apple Music now, you know, you get access to all of this content. And again, going back to the responsibility of parents, you know, it really falls on the home primarily because the government is not responsible for the moral status of your children. That's not their job. It never was. And like you said, whenever we give them that kind of power, they abuse it. You know, like now we're getting canceled for stuff that are basic discussion, things we agree about, you know.
Yeah.
To, you know, if you call out LGBTSN, you can get canceled for it now in certain network. And I had put a TikTok video recently of a preacher who was just talking about how not the transgender particularly, he was just talking about how there's role between men and women. Let's not confuse the line. Oh yeah, TikTok took it down. TikTok said that was bad information. You might offend and hurt somebody's spirit, if somebody's feeling. I said, there, you see, this is sad. These are things that 5 years ago we all agreed about. Now today is considered hate speech.
It goes all the way back to 84, 85.
There we are.
You know, and it's just progressively gotten worse over the years.
Yeah.
It went from censoring parental advisory warnings to political correctness to this and that and next thing, and here we are where we are now, to where you know you have things like hate speech and you know it's just absurd.
Yeah, but there is a level of truth biblically about language that needs to be controlled, but it's not to be controlled by the government. It is more of a personal thing that a person have to do, because when you read into the Bible, for example, in James chapter 3, almost the whole chapter is about the power of your words and language and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, it tells you that you have to be able to tame it. You know, it says we put bits in the mouths of horses to get them to obey us, but we guide their entire bodies. He talks about sheep, but so the tongue is a small part of the body, yet it has great pretensions. So think how small a flame set a huge forest ablaze. So the tongue is a fire. It can really your words, our words do have power. We have to admit that.
Mhm.
We can build or destroy. Musicians do have power. And I will disagree with any musician who think that their music have no power on a person's mental status or even the decision of a person will make. That's why if you look at the black culture, for example, it is a culture driven by hip hop, and you can see in our dress, in our hairstyle, in our tattoos, even in the way we speak, you can see hip hop is there,
Mhm.
and it shows you the level of influence. And you can go to certain cultures, you see again, you can see the influence of heavy metal. You know, you can go to whatever parts you go to, and it goes back to the words and the lyrics and the words of the, you know. And again, that goes back to the person's personal decision and commitment with God, a sense of morality driven by from a relationship with God. I choose to do and listen and speak with my words and use my tongue to speak based on my own moral compass. I have to make that decision on my own. Like the government cannot do this job for you. Like we should not allow them to come to a place where they're telling you what is good for kids to listen to, what is not good for kids to listen to. But I do agree with the label, putting a label on things, putting a warning on things. But it goes back to what you said and what DC Snider was talking about. D Snider is just we have to parents have to be empowered again. I think if anything, government should be helping parents, teaching them ways and methods to be better parents. I don't know. Even that, there's a slippery slope to that as well. But at
Mhm.
least creating certain type of workshops, certain type of discussions where parents can go and openly dialogues about ways that they are ordering their homes and dealing with some of these issues. I think that's what the government should do,
But
facilitating
then
these areas, but not necessarily coming in and trying to I don't know. I don't know
but
if
then
that
you get into the area where the government is teaching parents how to parent the way they want them to parent.
that's another thing. It goes back to become an indoctrination camp kind of thing again.
But for
You know?
parents instead of kids.
Yeah, just as bad.
So
Yeah. That's the danger of.
I
Oh
mean,
gosh,
yeah,
it's
the whole my whole thing is the less government involves itself in my daily life and your daily life, the
the
better
better.
off we are.
They're better off, and I agree, and I think that sums it up perfectly well.
It's like Ronald Reagan said, the most dangerous words that were ever uttered is "I'm here from the government and I'm here to help."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here to help. All right. Yeah, thank you for this. I think we can end it right here. I certainly appreciate it. We got another live stream coming up either Wednesday or Thursday, so I'll keep in touch with you as well, and I'll see when my wife can come on. But we want to do a reaction video to Tom, so
For sure.
that's for sure. Yeah, I know the ones we did
I'd
is
love to
getting.
I'd love to have another go around with Andrea and you.
It's to get exciting. Certainly. So I'm hoping either Wednesday or Thursday, one of those days I think mainly Wednesday. Thursday, we have a lot going on, piano lessons and everything for kids and stuff. So yeah, certainly. Well, guys, we want to thank you for joining us today. For those of you who stayed through the whole live stream here, it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. So thank you for hanging out with us. And I hope you learned something that was really, really good, man. Somebody say thanks for the Sunday service. Yeah. I have a Bible study coming out. I didn't get to record it, but I did put my sermon up on my channel today that I had preached. So thank you so very much for that. Well, how about we close up with a word of prayer? It's been wonderful. Father, we thank you so much that we spent some time together today and talk about different things that's going on in the world. But much more than that, Father, we're asking that you will help us to take these matters, Father, transform them and find ways that they apply in our lives, and also help us to be able to communicate with others who may be going through a situation based on the knowledge that you've given us today, to transition that knowledge in ways to help them to see the love of God as well. We pray for those who are watching, faithfully watching. We're asking for blessings to visit them today, that you will watch over them in all the decisions that they have to make, Father, we pray. We thank you, Lord, and we love you. We give thanks and praise and honor to you, and you are worthy and deserving of all our love, all of our worship, and all of our praise. I bless my friend, Darth Vader, for his willingness to join us today. And those who are watching, once again, special blessing for them as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for that. All right, Darth Vader, we'll stay in touch.
Yes.
We'll talk about what the next one will be.
I'll be around.
I got a whole list of things. So
I got nothing else to do.
All right. God bless you, my friend. We'll stay in touch.
God bless you too.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
God bless you, chat. Bye-bye.
All right. See you. Bye.